testimony. By my testimony, I'm a survivor.
Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Overcome by My Testimony. I'm a survivor. It is my first episode, or it is the first episode of 2026. And we are in February. February is Love Month, and I have the privilege of speaking with a couple that has just gone through a storm, but in love. Mm-hmm. And they are going to talk about their journey in that storm. So welcome.
What's good?
Donovan
What's
and
good?
Pan, thank you so much.
Yes.
For agreeing to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate this.
Thank you.
My prayer for all my episodes that I do is that it reaches and it teaches all who watch.
Yes.
And whether they are going through it or not, that they get something and they learn something, because I learn from all the episodes that I do. All right. So we are going to go all the way back to how did your journey start and what was your diagnosis?
So my journey started, so let me just first say, on August 2nd, 2025, I turned 45. On August 3rd, I'm saying my birthday for a reason and my age. On August 3rd, me and my husband had just waken up. We were laying in the bed. I think he was looking at his phone and I was just kind of laying there and we were just kind of talking. And I went to adjust myself in the bed. Some kind of way, my hand rubbed across my chest and I noticed that I felt a lump in my right breast. So, and then I immediately turned to my husband and I was like, I just felt a lump in my breast. And he was like, all right, call the doctor. Meanwhile, in my mind, which the reason I mentioned my birthday and me turning 45, because my birth mom died at the age of 45. Yeah. So me just turning 45 the day before and my mom dying at the age of 45, not from breast cancer. She didn't die from cancer at all. But of course, in my head, the first question in my head was like, really, God? Because I'm like, a lump now. So that was basically how it started. That was on a Sunday, so I couldn't talk to my doctor the same day. So Monday morning, I got up, I called my doctor. My appointment was on Tuesday. She gave me a little bit of hope because she was asking if I had ever heard of fibroadenoma. And I told her I wasn't really too familiar with it, but she just told me not to don't get sad just yet. She was like, don't think bad about it. I know your heart probably dropped to the floor. She was like, but it could be fibroadenoma. I came home, I looked up what fibroadenoma was. I wasn't claiming cancer, but I knew that what it stated fibroadenoma was is not what was going on with me. I didn't have any symptoms. I didn't have anything going on, but I knew that's not what was going on.
And what is that?
So fibroadenoma is basically like a cystic, like fibro, like a cyst, basically. She mentioned it could be like from drinking a lot of sodas, like a lot of caffeine and things like that. I had kind of cut back on sodas a little bit. I do drink sodas, but I had cut back on sodas and was drinking way more water. So that I thought that was kind of weird because I was like, I drink more water now than I've ever had in my life. So that can't be. That would be kind of interesting that it's coming at this point. But things do happen. So next thing that happened, I had to go and have a diagnostic mammogram done because the doctor that I went to, that's where I normally get my yearly mammograms done. But she stated that I needed a diagnostic mammogram, which she couldn't do in her office. So I had to go to the hospital and have a diagnostic mammogram done as well as an ultrasound. And she told me that would they would probably be able to see a little bit more. Fast forward to that, I went and had the mammogram done, had the ultrasound done. They really couldn't tell me anything except that the lump did look suspicious. The reason they felt like everything was suspicious, one, because it had fuzziness around it, it looked abnormal. And then the second thing was because I had just had my mammogram November of 2024. It had not been a full year yet because I normally go in November. So it had not been a year. So they were like, for you to have a lump now in August, this is kind of interesting. So since we couldn't get too much from there, I went and had a biopsy done. Um, I got the biopsy done. My breast surgeon at the time still was like, I don't think this is really, I'm not too concerned. So we were hopeful because we were like, well, if he's a breast surgeon, he sees this all the time. And if he's not too concerned, then maybe it's really nothing to worry about and we'll go from there.
Mm.
August 22nd on a Friday, he had just left to go out of town for work. I was working. I work from home. I was on my lunch break. I was outside walking the dog, and it popped up on the screen that I had results in from my biopsy. So I knew this was going to tell me yay or nay. I came in the house and I went up in my office and I told myself because he wasn't here, and I was by myself. So I was like, okay, whatever this says, you're gonna be fine. Don't worry about it. You're gonna be okay no matter what. I opened it and it stated that I had invasive ductal carcinoma. When I saw that stage 2, I was like, okay, it's cancer.
How did you feel seeing that in that moment?
Um, Shocked, um, hurt a little. But again, I cried for a moment. You know, I sat down and I cried for a moment to try to, I guess, process it, I guess. I still wasn't able to really process it, of course, but I tried to process it because again, I'm working. I knew I had to go back to work soon. I'll have to log back on. But I cried for a moment and I just kind of got myself together and said, you're going to be fine. I reached out to him to see how far on the road he had gotten to where he needs to be, like how far he was from where he was going. And he was like, I'm almost there. So when he called back, that's when I let him know that it's cancer.
And when you got that call, Donovan, how did you feel? What was your thoughts in that moment?
I got to get home. Somewhere I need to get off this road, and I need to hurry up and get home to my wife and give her the support that she needed. And it was a little, I guess it was surreal in the actual call, the phone call itself. It was just a little surreal because I was just like, wait a minute, what? Like, we're gonna have to deal with this, but again, while we were on the road, my mind and my thoughts were, with her. And when I did get the call from her, it was just kind of like everything kind of stopped for me. Like the whole world just stopped for me. And I was like, wow, I need to get home. I need to go ahead and get home because, I know she's gonna need my support. And so that's kind of where my mindset was at that point. Just
So
get
how
home.
long did you take you to get back home? Did you go back home right away?
Well, interesting enough on how that happened and how I knew it was God doing what he does, and the universe making it so that I could actually get home, to my wife. And because that was the weekend, that was the weekend, right? Wasn't that the
Mm-mm.
that wasn't the same weekend?
Mm-mm. I know what you're getting, what you. So he's thinking about the
Okay.
weekend
Mm.
when he was supposed to be out of town. So he's speaking back, thinking about when I found the lump because he was actually supposed to be out of town that weekend. Remember, for my birthday, you weren't supposed to be here,
That's right.
and so at that time, it would have led to me finding the lump and just being here by myself.
That's right.
But when I actually got the diagnosis, he was only gone for like maybe a day.
Hmm.
Because it was that Friday. I really didn't have much information to go off of. But my doctor, I'll just say I have an amazing care team across the board. My medical team, from my surgeon, nurse navigator, everybody has been phenomenal. So my breast surgeon actually called me on Saturday morning on his cell phone because their office is closed on Fridays. I got the news, like I said, I read it on the 22nd. The 23rd, he called me. You were still gone. He didn't come home till Sunday.
Hmm.
He wasn't back home until Sunday. Or either that night or Sunday morning. It was like early Sunday morning is
Hmm.
when he came home. But my breast surgeon actually had called me on Saturday morning and he said, I know by now you've already seen what the diagnosis is. It's okay. I have an amazing team that's going to support you through this. You're going to be fine.
Hmm.
He kept saying, I don't like to really talk about pathology over the phone. But what he mentioned at the time was, we'll do a lumpectomy. He said, well, we'll do an MRI because breast tissue for me can be very dense. So he said, we'll do an MRI. We'll end up doing a lumpectomy and then you'll have some radiation. So that made me feel a lot better because I've known several people that have gone through the same thing of having breast cancer, maybe have a lumpectomy done, maybe some radiation, maybe not, and then they move forward. So that's how I was able to kind of get through the weekend because I was like, I hate that it's cancer, but at least it's early enough that all I have to do is get this lumpectomy done and then get a little bit of radiation and just go from there. And so that's what I shared with him. So we were kind of like, okay, so this is unfortunate that this happened. And it was very shocking because I have never really had to worry about cancer being a thing for me, I guess. Um, so we were kind of going off of that. So that made both of us feel a little bit better.
So when you laid eyes on her, Donovan, what after you got the diagnosis, after you got the news?
Just hug her, and just let her know for sure, that I'm in her corner and we're gonna beat this thing. We're gonna beat this thing. And then after going into the doctor's office and him giving her the full, breakdown of everything, of course it was emotional. It was very emotional. And we sat there and said, okay, look, this is gonna change our life forever, which it did, it has, but mentally, again, her team was just so amazing in how they broke it down, and how he broke it down, how the treatment was going to be, and what to expect, things like that. It helped, at least I know it helped me fully understand what we were dealing with, because prior to that, I mean, this is completely new territory, for the both of us. And it was going to, like I said, change our lives, as we knew it at that time. So, I just really felt like, I needed to get as much education, understand exactly what we're dealing with, and then understand, okay, look, we know where our help comes from. God's gonna see her through this thing. And with that mentality, although it wasn't easy, but with that mentality, it helped, cope with what we were about to face. Yeah.
So subsequently, after telling Donovan, who was the next person that you told?
Um, so after telling Donovan, I called my mom, um, my sister right after, and then that same weekend, just so happened because neither one of my children, my biological children, I have a son and a daughter, neither one of them live here in Georgia. Both of them were home that weekend. So that Sunday, while he was here, we were like, we better go ahead and let them know what's going on and just kind of give them a heads up. Again, this is me still just thinking I'm only going to have to do a little bit of, we'll go in and have a lumpectomy done, do some radiation, and then I'll be done. So I told both of them, and then we kind of left it there because at this point, I had not gone into the doctor yet to get my full on plan and to know everything for sure. But just from what he shared on the phone with the lumpectomy and the radiation, that's really all the information I had. So we were like, we'll just kind of keep it there until I go into the office. And then I went into the office. This was on Sunday when I told them. They called me into the office. I went into the office that following Thursday. Yes, on that Thursday. I went into the office, and that's when everything just, like he said, again, me thinking going in the office. So we were thinking we're going in the office for him to tell me when I'm going to get the MRI done for him to just kind of check, do like a self check for me, and then he will let me know what we were looking at as far as surgery goes. Let me just go back the night before. I was on social media. I had been following a young lady that had breast cancer like a year or so prior. The night before I went in, she had hashtag TNBC.
Mhm.
Me just wondering like, what is that? I'm like, I know she had breast cancer, but what is TNBC? I had never heard of triple negative breast cancer before, ever. I clicked on the hashtag, read up on triple negative breast cancer. So fast forward to the next morning, we're at the doctor.
Mm.
We're sitting waiting on my doctor to come in. In his rooms, he has these big screens, like touch screens that are like full of knowledge of breast cancer, all types of cancers, because that's what he does. So I'm tapping on the screen now that I know I have invasive ductal carcinoma. I'm hitting it, reading what it's saying about it, and then it starts bringing up everything else. And the next thing says triple negative. So I turned to him and I'm like, oh, that's the bad one. I don't have that one. Yeah, let me not even go and read that one, but that's the bad one. I was telling him about the young lady I read on social media. I was like, yeah, that's the bad one. I don't have that.
Mm.
Only for my doctor to come in and say, well, the reason I was telling you I don't like to talk about pathology on the phone is because it's a lot deeper than what I wanted to go into.
Mhm.
You actually have triple negative.
She lost it.
My heart sunk.
Hmm.
No, I lost it in the car. I didn't lose it in there with him because remember, he was like, you're taking this very well.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to say. I was shocked. I didn't know what to say. I couldn't respond. I just kind of sat there. And he just was telling me what would how I am, how I came about to be, well, not how I came about to be, but what triple negative is, and that it's a little different, and that my care now wouldn't be as easy as a lumpectomy and then radiation and then moving forward. He was like, now everything it's going to be completely different. But he said he didn't want to go too deep into it because he's a breast surgeon, he's not an oncologist, and he would prefer me to talk to someone else. So he actually referred me to an oncologist that he works with. He assured me again that he has an amazing team that would be there to support me, and I didn't have anything to worry about. Her office was actually across the street. So he said, if you guys have time to go over there now, I spoke with her. She's cleared her calendar for you to go and talk to her so we can go ahead and get moving. Um, I was just like, okay, because I'm like, I want to go. I want this lump out of me. But now that you told me this, now I don't know what to think. Now I'm scared. I'm nervous. So we get in the car, and that's when I lost it.
Mm. Yeah.
That's when I lost it. We were on our way to the oncologist's office, and that's when I lost it.
And that's when it got real.
That's when it got real. That's when it got real.
Um, when you say it got real, what does that look like? Or what does that sound like in words?
Because then him mentioning that without going, like I said, he couldn't give me everything, but him mentioning, well, me alone reading that triple negative, about for one, is one of the worst breast cancers to have. And him just talking about how aggressive it is as a cancer, and that now my whole care plan has to change. I was scared because I was for a minute like, Lord, am I gonna make it through this? I'm like, I have my husband, I have my children, we have grandkids now. I'm like, they're little. I'm just now becoming a grandmother. So I'm like, you're gonna take me, I still have a lot to do and experience, and I'm not ready for this. So just the fear of the unknown is why I say it got real, because we didn't know what this was going to look like. Saying my care plan was going to change and how aggressive it is. I didn't know at that time how aggressive it was. Um, they mentioned that because of the fact that I had the mammogram in November and now I had the lump in August, that was very fast and it made sense for triple negative. The scary part of it was that it spread so fast when it first starts out, it's very tiny and you can't see it through a microscope. So at that time, we didn't know if it was anywhere else in my body or not. So yeah, that's why I say it got real because we were like, okay, this is deeper than just going to have a lumpectomy done and then radiation. Like this is now completely
Mhm.
fear of the unknown.
So what did the oncologist say after you spoke with her and met with her that first time?
Um, we went and met with her, excuse me. She just kind of went down telling me somewhat of what my breast surgeon was mentioning as far as like what triple negative is. Um, she moved quick. She she told me that okay, we're gonna start your care. They came in and started getting my vitals, and I thought we were going over there to see if I even wanted to work with her as an oncologist because he was like, "I'll let you go and talk to her, feel her out." She got vitals and everything while I was there, and she was like, "We need to make a move on this quick because again, it could spread." She said, "I know you already heard that you have triple negative, but it does move extremely fast, and so we need to get on this right away." That was on Friday. I broke down while crying to her. She mentioned because then she mentioned chemo. Chemo was the one thing that I was like, I did not want to have to go through. And because my surgeon on the phone had, like I said, he never mentioned that because at the time we didn't know it was triple negative. So I was like, oh, at least it's not chemo. She mentioned, okay, we're going to have to do chemo and we're going to have to do chemo before we do anything else. We can't do a lumpectomy first. We can't do anything because we can't allow this to spread anymore if it has already spread it. So she just kind of broke down everything. We were overwhelmed.
Mhm.
She said so much. She went down the whole thing of triple negative. She said, tomorrow you're going to go in and have a bone scan and a CT scan done. Monday was Labor Day. So Tuesday I had to have an echocardiogram done. Wednesday I was in chemo.
Mm.
And she
Wow.
gave me all of that information, or well, gave us all that information that day, right then. So we were overwhelmed. She gave me a lot of paperwork. She told me all the different medications I would come in contact with during chemo. She gave me printouts for everything. She told me what all the side effects could be, what could happen, what may go, all they gave me everything.
Information overload.
Yeah,
It was a lot. It was a lot.
we were
I bet.
overwhelmed.
I bet getting the diagnosis and then getting all this information, you're just like, you probably didn't know your left from your right.
Right,
No.
right.
We didn't. We were just kind of like, oh my gosh. And like I said, from being in the car, I did cry with her, but I felt so, or I guess I'll say we, from speaking with her, we just felt so good. Like I felt like I'm in the right hands and I know we're gonna get through this and we're gonna be okay. Her bedside, I mean, she was just an amazing, well, she is an amazing oncologist. And she just made me feel with her knowledge and her reassurance and just her encouragement from the beginning. I just was like, okay, I'm where
She's
I
in
need
good
to be.
hands. She's in good hands.
Mm-hmm.
So what was your treatment, I guess, after the chemo? How many rounds of chemo did you have? And then following, and how did your care plan go?
So I'm actually still in my care plan. I did finish chemo. I had 16 cycles of chemo. I had the first 12, which were I did every week. They were just a traditional I guess I would say traditional chemo meds that I had for the first 12 weeks. And then the last four, my oncologist had mentioned that they were gonna, because outside of this, I was healthy. So she said, we think your body can stand it. So for those last four, we're gonna take your medicine up and it's gonna be much stronger. But you'll do that one instead of going every week. I went every 3 weeks. So it was 16 total.
What, how did you feel after each round?
Well, after each round, you feel amazing. It's so weird because with chemo, the day you go in, so the day that you get your chemo, and at least for me, it seemed like it's across the board, but I'll say specifically for me, I would go in on a Thursday. So Thursdays, I felt like myself. Friday, I felt perfectly fine. Saturday, it was like a gut punch. The fatigue is the main thing. It knocks you, like it hits you hard, and I would feel extremely exhausted, and that would last for a couple days. It would last for a few days. um I had insomnia. That was one of the things that I experienced, which they had kind of mentioned. They told him, like, if she's just up these random times of the night, cleaning, doing whatever, it's normal. That's what chemo does. So I did have some nights where he would be, because he goes to bed fairly early, I say, but he was ready to go to bed, and I'll just be up like bright-eyed, like I'm watching TV still. It's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so he would go sleep in the guest bedroom just so he could get some sleep because I would just be up.
You mean 3 o'clock in the morning?
No, I was saying I'd be up like it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that too.
And so yeah, so he would go in the other room so he could get some sleep. But yeah, after chemo, different weeks, it just depends. I lost my taste for a bit. I experienced neuropathy in my hands for a little bit. That was something that they kind of mentioned early on to make sure that they knew about early enough so they could change the medicine if need be, because it was extremely painful. It was horrible. So they were able to change my medicine, and it stopped soon after because they wanted to make sure that they could stop it. The sooner they were able to stop it, they said it could last forever, possibly. So the sooner the better. So they were able to get that. And what else did I?
Nausea,
I had nausea.
the sore throat at one point.
Yes, at one point I felt like it was like I had strep throat. It seemed from the stronger meds. I started to lose my hair. Well, notice tenderness in my head probably around my fifth week into chemo. I had locks, and I would just kind of sometimes like mess with my edges because I'd be like, huh, that's before it really got tender. And I was like, I think my hair, and I was telling him, I was like, babe, I think my hair is starting to like it's ready to come out. And then we kind of left it alone. And then finally one day I went to chemo, and my head was just getting really, really sore to the point where I could barely even style my hair. I couldn't do much to it. If I put a hat on, that was kind of hurting. So that night I came home and I was like, I think I want to go ahead and just take control of this little bit that I can. And I want to go ahead and cut my locks out. And he was like, well, when do you want to do that? And I was like, tonight. So it was a rash decision. I did. I went upstairs and I called myself getting ready to cut one, and I pulled it a little bit and it just came out. And I was like, yeah, it's time. But I was at peace with my hair. I came at peace with losing my hair probably right when my oncologist said chemo was a part of my plan. I was like, well, I know with chemo comes hair loss. So I was like, it is what it is at this point. I'm fighting for my life. I can't be worried about hair. And when you fighting, hair get in the way anyway. So I was like, it's okay. It'll grow back. Um, but yeah, I lost my taste. I had what else? The neuropathy, the dryness of the skin,
Mhm.
nausea.
Oh, and the flashes.
Oh my goodness, hot flashes, which I'm still, yes, hot flashes like extreme.
I call her a fireball because sheesh.
It is so crazy because the other thing with chemo too, it messes with all of your numbers, like your blood numbers and everything. So I was also anemic.
Anemic, yep.
So one minute I'll be like freezing cold, wrapped up in a blanket, have the heater on, have my feet literally in front of the heater, and then next thing you know, I'm turning off everything, taking off everything because I'm on fire from the flashes. So yeah.
Portable fan and all that, and yeah,
So
it's
were you experiencing that before your diagnosis or just after?
It was
mhm.
after I actually mentioned it to my oncologist, and I was like, because I had to like every week when I went in for my infusion, prior to receiving it, you have to talk to the doctor. They like get lab work. They would always access my port, get blood work done, just to kind of see where my numbers were, because you have to be approved every time you go for chemo. You can't just walk in and they say, "Oh, it's time for chemo today." You have to go in, talk to the doctor. They want to know what symptoms you're having, what's going on, what has changed from the previous week, and then to look at my lab work to make sure that everything looked well enough for me to go ahead and her sign off for me to have, yeah, to have the chemo.
Mm-hmm.
So what
Yeah.
were some of the struggles and the hardest thing during your bout of breast cancer that you experienced?
Chemo as a whole. That was the most difficult thing that I've ever done in my life, chemo, because you don't, it was just the not feeling well. Even if some days that I wasn't, because I didn't really have like a lot of vomiting or anything like that, like some people do. Everybody's body responds different. Mine was just sometimes of just not feeling well. And then the other things that I mentioned that come along with it, you just never know. And this was every week. Because like I said, you feel okay, you feel like yourself the day you get it and then the day after. But then once those side effects kick in, and you never know if it's going to be a different one, like the more doses you get, if it's going to be something you're going to experience different the next week, or you don't know what to expect. You just know that okay, after a few days of this, I'll start feeling like myself again. But then it'll also soon be time for another treatment. So it's a cycle you're going over again. So the hardest thing for me, I think, was just the chemo itself and just being tired of not feeling good. Sometimes I took advantage of my good days. So if I felt good, I would try to do a little, oh, and loss of energy. You have no energy at all. My heart would beat really, really fast coming up and down the stairs. So I didn't really have to do a lot of that. He's did so much because he loves to cook. So he has to go from cooking like here and there to cooking all the time.
He got that
While
All the
honest.
time.
He
All
got
the
that
time.
really
he
honest.
does, he does. um, but he was cooking everything because I couldn't do anything. I couldn't really like coming up and down the stairs. I would get really tired. I would be out of breath. So if I tried to come down, he'll be like, "What are you doing down here? Why are you up? Why did you come out the room? Why are you?" So he had to kind of step in and just do everything
Mm-hmm.
basically. And that was my concern too, because I was like, goodness, he still works and he's gonna be trying to take care of me, and then the food and cleaning and everything. And I was like, it's gonna be so much on him. So I was concerned with him too, because I was like, well, goodness, I don't want him to be worn down where he can't really even help me out. But we did get a housekeeper that helped with that part of it, and she is amazing. She still comes, so she's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So that helped out a great bit with what she does, but he took on all of the cooking and just kind of making sure that I was okay. But the thing about chemo, you really can't do anything to help. You have to just kind of go through it. I tried to do certain things like drink a lot of water so it could hurry and flush through my system and get the rest like I was told to. But every time I went in, I was always asking them, like, is there anything I can do to help myself, help my iron or anything? And they're like, no, not
No,
really.
no.
Not really. So yeah, that was the hardest part was just really getting through the chemo itself. Your mind, it's very emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I cried. We would just be sitting there and he may come in the room and I'll just start crying and he's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "I'm just tired of feeling bad." Or sometimes I would cry because they were happy tears because of the support that I had. I had a lot of support. So I would just be overwhelmed from the love and support that everybody was giving me.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, my phone was off the charts. Just family members just reaching out, texting, calling, mostly texting. That's
mhm,
that's what it is now. But
Mhm.
I mean, just family members like crazy, just reaching out, man, and showing that support just helped. It may not mean much, but it helped me, help get her through her toughest time, of her life, and, I never thought, I was telling one of my cousins, recently, I was like, I never thought I needed that type of support, going through something like this. And I mean, it was just so heartfelt, that we and she had, the support, that she needed. I mean, it just was amazing. just really amazing. And even with my work and my job and stuff, they were very mindful and very, helpful, with just seeing that my schedule wasn't, out of whack or what have you. And I was just able to actually be home, take care of her. And I think I may have missed about maybe about 3 or 4 appointments due to work. But
Mm.
other than that, the rest of them, I was able to be there and to sit with her and go through it with her and just make sure that she knew that, she had the support, but yeah, the outside support from family and friends, it was
It was,
just, it was amazing. It was
it
over the
was,
top. It was
and
just
it
over the
helped.
top. Yeah.
Because a lot of times I didn't feel like talking on the phone.
Hmm.
Because a lot of times, I didn't feel good. But just knowing that everybody is reaching out like they were and just texting saying, I know you're not feeling well, but I just want you to know I'm thinking about you and just
Hmm.
seeing how you're feeling. Or if they knew that I had an appointment or something coming up, they'll reach out and say, how was your appointment? So I had a lot of support and a lot of encouragement. My sister, for one, she sent me an encouraging word or song
Hmm.
every single treatment. That
Yeah.
morning, I had something from her to encourage me or a
Yeah.
song to listen to. So that would sometimes make me emotional because I'm like, goodness, I can't even believe I'm going through this. And but she was always counting down with me, like, look at you, you're strong. This is number
Hmm.
6. This is number this. So, because
Hmm.
we were definitely counting down because that bell seemed so far away
Yeah.
at one point. So, yeah, just the outpouring of love and support that I had, it definitely helped a lot.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because, initially, when I was diagnosed with something like cancer, and I say at least for me, initially I felt like I was emotional because I felt like everybody is going along with their life and doing things. Never forget, a friend of mine came over. This was shortly after I had been diagnosed, but I was starting chemo like the next week. And she brought over lunch and we were just sitting down talking, just having a nice little time. And when she left, I got so emotional. And I got emotional because I was thinking about she's about to go back to her life and just keep on going. And I feel like I was stuck. And with that, you don't know what to expect because people say, "Well, I'll be here if you need anything," or "I'll be calling you, I'll reach out to you," but you never know what's really going to happen. And so I kind of was like, man, everybody else just kind of going about their way, doing their own thing, and I'm just feeling like I'm just stuck here in this one little spot and don't know what's going to happen. But everybody kept reaching out, so I never felt like I was just kind of left behind or nothing along that line. And then, of course, with him being here in the house with me, being supportive. We're a silly couple, so he's always doing things to make me laugh no matter what. So he would still do that. And then even at the doctor's office, we would have the best time because he would mess with the people. Like we would joke around with them.
Yes.
He would always like say something crazy just to make us laugh, make me and them laugh. So yeah, I had a lot of support and it was definitely helpful having a supportive spouse. Because if he wasn't, like, I don't know what that would have looked like.
Hmm.
Um, and him just meeting me where I was is the biggest thing for me. And that's what I appreciate because he met me where I was. And the days where I felt like I wanted to cry and I was emotional and I'd be like, oh my God, I feel like I'm about to cry. He was like, cry because this is a lot and it's
Hmm.
hard. And I'm very big on feeling my emotions. I like to go through. If I'm upset, I don't try to pretend or take anything away. If I'm upset, I want to feel like I'm upset. And then I move through it in a healthy way. But I want to go through it. And so when I want to cry, I just cry. I don't try to hold it back. And I just appreciate that he wasn't like, well, don't cry. You're going to be fine. He was like, no, this is hard. So cry. If you want to
Hmm.
cry, cry, feel it because this is a lot, this is different for us. Our household completely changed because another thing of it too, thankfully, I never really get sick. I've never been a sickly person. I never been in the hospital except for having my kids. So if anything happened medical wise, it was like me taking care of him. And so that's what we were kind of used to. And so now it was like a big switch where it was like, okay, now I'm the one, and now he's going to have to take care of me. It was such a big change for
Hmm.
us. But we stepped up to it and, we made it happen.
Yep.
And he was there every step of the way, making sure that I was taken care of.
Hmm.
So Donovan, what was the hardest thing or the biggest struggle that you went through, or that you experienced in this journey?
Having to stay strong and not let her see me weak. Because for me, when I think about my family and the what we've been through over the years with cancer, how cancer is prevalent in our family. This was something that you know I never had to deal with hands-on like this. And so there were times, seeing her cry, seeing her break down, you know I wanted to let her see that, I'm her rock, through this, and not let her see me break down, because I've had moments. I've actually had some serious moments that she didn't see, she doesn't know about. I would be talking to one of my cousins, through text and stuff, and just tears flowing, flowing. But she would never see me. She would never see me do that. And I wanted to make sure that at all times that I was her rock all the time, no matter what. And it was difficult because I didn't know what to expect. There was, times when she was going through some of her side effects, and I felt like, wow, like I can't do anything. Men are built and designed to fix things. That's in our nature to want to be able to fix something. And when your wife is battling like this, it just makes me feel like, oh my God, I can't even help her right now. I can't, all I can do is just be here, listen, and those were difficult times for me because I couldn't do anything. I couldn't help her with her neuropathy other than put the cream on, but other than that,
Rub my hands.
rubber hands,
Yeah.
I mean, it was, seeing your spouse in pain is not fun. And it's just not, and I wanted to make sure that she knew that, I wanted to at least show that I'm strong. But I had my moments, I would go down to my office and just let go. Or when I go out to run an errand or whatever, there were moments where I got overwhelmed and kind of just broke down and prayed, about it and just asked God to give me strength. And again, it would usually be at certain times where it was like I get a text from my friend or get a text from my cousin, and they'd be like, "Hey, we're thinking about you," and just that text would lift me right back up. And I was like, okay, I get it. I see what this is all about, And then when I talked to my parents, they, you know, how's she doing? What's she up? They were very, just wanting to know what was going on, hour by hour. Let
Mm.
us know, give us a call, da 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 da, my brother and everybody, So, just again, I can't stress, during those difficult times that support from my family and my friends just it was just way over the top, man, and helped me remain strong even when I had some weak moments.
Would you have thought anything any less of him had you seen him break down?
No, because I know he's strong. And I asked him because I knew this was a big thing for us. So that's why I asked him early on. I was like, I know I'm going through this. I know it's me that has been diagnosed, but how are you feeling? Because this is affecting both of us. Our household is completely different now. We have to do things different because of the chemo treatments and things. And even then, he was like, I'm okay. Don't worry about me. We have to focus on you. And I was like, I know, but how are you feeling? But he would never go further than that. It was just like, no, we're concerned. We're worried about you. We're focusing on what's going on with you. Don't worry about me. Um, so because I know him deep down, I was like, at some point in this, he probably has had a moment, or he's either telling his a cousin or somebody else. He's not going to say it to me, because he know I wouldn't have thought any less of him if he, we always share, like if he gets emotional or whatever. I think it was just this particular time because of what I was going through, and I guess he felt like it would put more on me or make me feel away because he, make it seem like he's feeling bad or something. I don't know. But no, I wouldn't have thought any less of him because I know he's strong. Um, just even in how he was able to lift me up when we got the diagnosis because it was a lot and just kind of it was just so much with going to the we felt like we basically lived at the doctor because we were there so much. I have never been to the doctor so much in my life. And so him just being able to get through that everything because he was still working. I wasn't working. I had taken off work shortly after my diagnosis so that I could kind of go through things and not have to worry about anything else except for my health.
Mhm.
Um
And we were still on tour. When she got diagnosed, we were still on tour, and so that was a challenge. But again, God worked it out. He really worked that phase of it out because we were on the end of the tour, but nevertheless, there were some obstacles that I had to get over with work. But again, they were so what's the word I'm looking for? They were obviously understanding of
Understanding,
what
yeah.
was going
He
on.
was sensitive. They were
Yeah,
empathetic to and
yeah,
show to what we had going on.
yeah. So,
But
yep.
yeah, he was I knew he was strong throughout it all. I felt like I said, I felt like at some point he may have had a moment. Like I just kind of was like, at some point he's gonna have a moment and he's gonna because it was a lot. But in front of me, he just kind of kept going. He was still working. He was doing dinner, breakfast, bringing it upstairs, lunch, making sure I was okay, going to the grocery store, making sure I didn't need anything. He just kept going. He just kept going. So I didn't see a moment, but yeah, he just kind of kept going in front of me. He just kept going, and that's just kind of how it was.
Do you ever think that anybody else handled you like they felt like they had to be delicate with you and not talk like yeah, delicate with you in their words or in their touch of you or anything like that?
Um, no, because I kind of made it known up front, do not treat me like I'm sickly. And don't do that. Because I never kind of really came out and said I have cancer. I kept saying I'm diagnosed with it. I'm not claiming that even now I'm not saying I don't have cancer. I was diagnosed with it. And so no, I was like, don't treat me. I didn't want anybody to treat me any differently. Of course they were sensitive, they were sympathetic to what I had going on. But nobody treated me. I don't think anybody treated me. Maybe
Mm-mm.
Brandon, my best
A little
friend.
bit, yeah, Brandon.
My best friend Brandon, he won't even say the word cancer.
Yeah,
He probably cried as much throughout this process as I have.
pretty much.
He cried because he kind of found out. Now he's actually one of the first people outside of Donovan that knew early on what was going on by mistake.
Mm.
By mistake, because the day that I got the diagnostic mammogram before the biopsy, and I just had the lump there. Um, he ended up calling me, and my mind was on what had just happened. And I had just spoken to Donovan when I came home from the ultrasound because he had to leave. He went with me, but then he had to leave out. And so when I called him, Donovan was a little frustrated because we didn't have the results. Because my doctor, they made it seem like I would probably know a little more going in to get the diagnostic mammogram. And we didn't. So when I came home and was like, yeah, she said it looks suspicious, but she still don't know. So he was like, we need to know what's going on. Like, what is the problem? So my best friend actually ended up calling me after that phone call with Donovan. I'm sitting down working. He actually called me, not knowing anything. He doesn't know about the lump. He doesn't know anything. He ended up calling me. And so we were, talking, but I guess it was showing in my face because he was like, friend, are you okay today? Because you seem a little off. And I just started crying. I just started crying. And I was like, okay, I'll call you back. And he was like, no, no, no. And I just hung up the phone. So then what did he do? I wouldn't answer, so he called my husband.
Which he always did. If she don't answer, he would always call me.
Especially with me crying, because he's like, okay, what's going on? She broke down crying. She won't answer my call. What's happening? So he called Donovan, and that day Donovan told him what was going on, and he came to my house
Immediately.
immediately. So that's the only person I feel like, even though I was telling him not to, he kind of handled me with white gloves a
Yeah,
little bit.
pretty
It was
much.
kind of like, because when he called me every single day. Initially, he called me every single day. If I didn't answer, he was leaving me voice messages. He was sending me text messages. So he's the only person I would say that was kind of like real, like tiptoe-ish a little bit, kind of like, yeah, he would be the only person I would say that was kind of like that.
Yeah.
Because even to this day, he still won't say cancer. He won't say the word. It's like to him, it wouldn't make it real, or if he didn't. And he was that kind of person that needed to. He didn't. I didn't answer the phone a lot, but I knew sometimes for him, I needed to at least let him see me on FaceTime or something, just to show him that I'm okay. He's one of those people that's like, I need to just see that you're okay, and then that's it, and we'll fine. We're fine. But then there were a lot of times I wouldn't answer. One, like I said, I didn't feel well a lot of the times, but those moments where I did feel good, um, sometimes I would talk to him and sometimes I wouldn't, because I knew that if he started talking about it, he would get emotional. Then I'm gonna get emotional, and then if I get emotional, then he's gonna cry. He's took me to chemo a couple of times when Donovan couldn't go. Him and my mom were my other two chemo buddies, and he was in there crying one day. I was asleep. I didn't even know what was going on. I was knocked out. We weren't even having conversation, and yeah, so he was the only person.
Has having breast cancer changed you? If so, how? If not, why?
It has
Why
changed
not?
me.
Mhm.
It has definitely changed me. I feel like I couldn't go through something like this and not be changed. It's a very eye-opening experience. It makes you, I've always been that person, especially as I've gotten older, to look at life as a gift. I always come and say, I just want to live my life to the fullest and different things. But of course, with something like cancer, it really makes you sit down and appreciate everything, all the small things. Don't get as frustrated as easy with certain things. Now, just kind of like, you know what, it's okay, whatever. It don't even matter. It's not even worth putting any thought into it. But it's definitely a life-changing experience, and to me, I feel like it just opened my eyes to a lot of things as far as like about myself, how strong I am of a woman. I've always felt like I was strong, but going through something like this, I was like, I really am.
Superwoman.
Yeah, like I really getting through those treatments. Because there were some times where I was kind of like, I don't know. Like when that neuropathy, I was like, if this is how this is going to be, I don't know if I can continue with this. Is it even worth it to go through that? But going through all of that and looking back on everything that I've gone through now, because it wasn't just the chemo that I had to go through. I had to go in some weekends and get injections.
Mm.
I had to go in and get the infusion. Well, I guess you would say fluids. I
Fluids,
had to
yeah.
go in and get fluids sometimes. So I was there. It wasn't just only chemo that I was going in for. I had to go in and get other things done in between those times. So just all of that constant going back and forth to the doctor all the time. It was a lot. And so just showing kind of, I guess it would kind of solidify to me as well too of my purpose. I like to help women. Me being a life coach I kind of it's centered around women. It's for all women, but it's centered around Black women. And I felt like with breast cancer, when this came, I immediately said, okay, God, because obviously this is another avenue that you're putting for me to have, for me to assist women that's out here, to be an advocate for other women who are going through the same thing. But it's definitely a changing, eye-opening, and life-changing experience, because, like I said, you just see everything so different and you appreciate life so much more. Um, yeah, I don't know. It takes my breath away sometimes, just thinking of everything, that has happened so far. And I'm not even done with everything, but just what we've come through so far.
Hmm.
And Yeah, just wanted to be an advocate for others. You, of course, going through this, you get to see so many other different people that are going through maybe something similar. Maybe they're a little bit further into the process, but just wants to be there for everyone else, or be that person that can be there to support someone else and give them the encouragement that maybe they don't have that I had.
And you don't have a testimony without a test,
Yeah,
you know. So
that's true. But yeah, it was definitely change. Like I said, it made me really want to just sit back and sit down and breathe. Um, I'm big on intention anyway. But with this happening, it definitely makes me look at it now like being more intentional about things, not wasting time with anything. It's so much I can say behind it. I'm still going through it, so I'm still finding out things. I'm sure I'll find out even more as my journey continues. But just so far with the diagnosis itself and with the chemo just kind of just showed me the things that my body could do that I would have never even imagined, and just being able to get through something like that. Because it was a lot. But now that I'm on the other end of it, it's like, oh my goodness, like you did it. You got through it.
that's right.
You got through it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely a life-changing experience.
Has it changed you, Donovan?
Yes.
How?
Yes. Appreciate. Well, it let me understand more so of appreciation, just for life, and me, I'm always, or at least I try to be positive, in every situation. And, usually will post things about just positivity and celebrating the big wins as well as the small wins and things like that. And I feel like, you know, this this journey for her has, you know, uh, opened up a lot of things in my life in terms of just being a better husband and a bigger support, because ever since we've been together, we've always supported each other. But when it came to medical issues or, health issues, it's just really been one-sided. She's been the one to kind of take care of me through my health issues, and I've never had to reciprocate that until now, and we had one conversation a while back, it was just like, oh my God, are you, or she kept, asking how I was. And I said, I'm fine. I'll, manage. I just want to make sure that you're taken care of, and that that you have me here no matter what, my schedule's crazy. I have a crazy schedule. So, there's times when, I'm not getting home till 4 or 5 in the morning and I'm focused on her. I'm making sure that, she's handled, she's taken care of, at all costs, so, I just, I just that whole putting things into perspective and understanding what's really important and what really matters most. And that's the love for one another, the love for your family, the love for your good close friends and things like that. So for me, it's that just a stronger, deeper love for my wife through this. And it's just it's it's been hard, it's been challenging, but I'm so glad that she's going through and she's not stuck, and that here we are, and victory is hers. And there's just no other way to put it, that she's victorious. And I'm just so proud of her. I'm just so proud of her getting through it all. I'm just so proud of her.
It changed our eating. I'll say with our diet a little bit too.
Yeah, it did.
Um, because it was like, okay, we don't eat the worst, but we definitely can stand to
Yeah,
improve.
yeah, yeah.
So I have an indoor garden. I've grown our own vegetables and things. And
Seasonings and stuff. So,
yeah. But yeah, just trying to do things a little different. And like I said, for me personally, just more self-care with myself and just watching what I'm doing, just not externally, but internally as well,
mhm.
all around. Because again, we don't know where my diagnosis came from. I don't know anyone personally that has triple negative. And it was very shocking for me to get a cancer diagnosis. That's something I wasn't like one of those people that felt like, oh, that would never happen to me, because I would go get a mammogram every year, but it just wasn't in the forefront of my mind as something I would need to be concerned with.
Hmm.
So, being that I was diagnosed, I have been diagnosed, not knowing where it came from. I did the genetic testing, that's requested for everyone who has cancer. They always kind of suggest you get like a genetic screening done to see if you carry some type of gene. And for my children, just in case if they needed to get tested early. I told them to do the full 70 something plus test for everything. Everything was negative. So that was the positive of it. But then the other side of it was like, well, if I don't have this gene, then it's like, well, where did it come from? We don't know.
Hmm.
So it was like, okay, we got to do some things different. So I'm looking at my health differently as well. Cause I'm one of those people that I'll go out and I'll buy some vitamins. I'm like, I'm gonna take these vitamins. And then he's every day like, Dave, did you take your vitamin today? Cause he take his every day. So he's like, babe, did you take your vitamins today? Knowing I haven't. And I'm not consistent with it. So I'll be like, no, no, I haven't taken them, babe. No, no. Or yes, I took it. Now I will be. I will definitely make sure that I'm doing everything in my power that I can't control. I'm just going to make sure that I'm doing what I can. It has definitely made me look at all of that completely different. Because I knew, like I said, going into this, I was always a positive person. I knew that my life was a gift. I know that time waits on no one and none of us are promised tomorrow. But look at going through this, it really helped me to see like, man, this really could have been a different outcome. I've heard stories going through, and sometimes I would even cry about that because I'm like, man, that really could have been my story, but it wasn't.
Hmm.
So I really just feel like God said, this is a second chance
Hmm.
at life for me to just go through and so I'm gonna make the best of it. So that's what I'm committed to doing now, is making the best of it.
Speaking of your faith, did it change your faith? Why or why not? And if so, how?
You know what? It didn't. As far as change, well, if I would have to say it changed anything, because I already had great faith in God too, it's the reason why I really wasn't too concerned, because I felt like God was holding me and that I was going to get through this and be okay. Um, I would say it maybe heightened my faith, if anything. It didn't change it in a negative thing, because one thing I can say throughout this process, and I'm surprised I didn't, I never once questioned why me. And I never was like, woe is me. And I never questioned God, like, why me? Why am I going through this? Why me? Whatever. I never questioned that. I always was like, dang, it's so shocking that not only did I get cancer, but I've all of it. Leave it to me to get triple negative. I would make little comments like that, and we would joke like that. And he'll be like, well, you know why? Because your testimony and because what you're meant to do with it. But I never questioned God and was like, why me or whatever. The only time I questioned God, if you want to say, was in the beginning. I was like, really, God? When I felt the lump. And I'm like, really, God? Like, I got grandbabies now. I'm all excited about all these different things. And now? So, but yeah, that's probably the only way I would say it heightened my faith, but that was pretty much it.
What did your journey teach you about God and yourself in general, and also about yourself as a person of faith?
Um, what I've known to be true is that when God and you give it to God and you pray about it, to leave it there. You have to have faith. You can't be worried about it. If you have you given it to God, let Him handle it, and truly let Him handle it. Truly let it go. It's challenging when you're going through something like cancer, because you don't know what to expect. And like I said, I'm still there because my journey is still ongoing. Um, it's challenging because I'm human. So there are some times where certain things may come up, or certain, I don't know, I may see something online and I'm like, oh, okay. Or I'll just think about what I'm going through and was like, yeah, my journey is still going. So I still don't. Um, but as far as with God, it's just to continue trusting Him and just know that I'm okay. And when he sends certain things, or certain things are said to you, and it's on behalf of Him, just trust that and leave it there and know that you're okay. Now, like I said, it is hard. So there were some times where, even though I would say, on one note, I know I'm good. I know I'm okay. God has already healed me. I just get to hit the paperwork to show, but I'm already healed. I already know that. again, I'm human, so there were certain times or certain things like that may happen. I'm kind of like, I don't know, you know. But again, for me as a person, I would say I learned that I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was. I'm a lot stronger than I gave myself credit for. It has taught me to never ever doubt myself again, going through everything that I've gone through. I've saved every single arm, like the little armbands they put on you when you go to the doctor or whatever. I've saved all of them. I'm going to put them in a jar because that's my reminder to never ever doubt myself again in anything that I want to do. If I've gone through everything that I've gone through, just for this first half with the chemo and everything, I feel like there's nothing that I can't do moving forward. So that's what this has kind of taught me about myself. And then I'm just a lot stronger. Um, I'm not going to say that I knew because I knew I was strong. But again, in this situation, I feel like I didn't have a choice but to be anything but strong because I had a strong will to live. I wanted my life. And I was like, so whatever I got to do to get to the other side of this, I need to do because I want to live, and I don't see no other option outside of that. I'm not a woe is me person because I feel like if you will woe is me, you get woe is me results. And that's not what I was going for. I don't do woe is me. So it was like, okay, I treated it almost like if you get the flu. Okay, you told me I have the flu. Give me the medicine I need to feel better so I can move forward. And that's kind of how I felt with this. Okay, you diagnosed me with cancer. Let's do what I got to do to get me to the other side so I can be healthy and be on my way. It's how I was like taking it.
Same question for you, Donovan. What have you learned about God and yourself in general and as a person of faith?
Uh, it's pretty much been consistent. It's never been a moment where it's been like kind of what she alluded to, like, oh, why us? Why da 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 da? And I just always, kept an even keel about it all and my faith and again, just I'm very much so, big on spirituality and just when you pray and you give things to God, you leave it there, you don't, because it makes no sense to pray to God about your situation and then turn around and worry about it.
Hmm.
That's insanity. That makes no sense to me. So it was just always that, okay, God, you know my heart, you know what's going on here, you know the situation. Give me strength, give her strength to get through this thing. And we believe, that it's going to be all right, And so my faith really never wavered, at any
Mhm.
given point in time and just remained even keel. There were times where I kind of felt like, okay, God, I need a little boost. I need a little bit more boost because I'm running on fumes right now,
Mhm.
And again, and that was a lot due to the fact of me working and still trying to be here for her. So it was, there were challenges there, but overall, it was like, okay, God, I just need that extra boost, and everything will be all right. But not one time that I ever, was ever mad at God, as they say, or
Mhm.
upset and frustrated. No, I mean, hey, this is part of her journey. This is part of what we got to go through, as a couple to make us stronger, and to definitely, be something where it's purposeful because there's purpose in this whole thing for
Mhm.
her. There's purpose in this whole thing for me, and again, without this test, there is no testimony. So, hey, let's do this. And I'm just thankful, again, for God sending, everyone in our life, that has been so supportive of her journey
Mhm.
at this time. So,
Yeah, I can attest to that too because I feel like that's the same for me with sometimes praying with going through the chemo and just not feeling my best and some days feeling really just completely out of it. The same thing of like give me a boost, like, okay, God, do because this is this is a lot.
hmm
And mentally, I'm tired. So do something, But again, like he said, I just feel like I had the right amount of support around me with family, with friends, and then my medical staff. I have to just say they have been phenomenal. And it's like they always which I think this is God as well.
Mm-hmm.
Days when I didn't feel, or if I was unsure, and I didn't really even have too much voice it's like they just knew what to say.
Yeah.
They poured into me. It was one particular day, and it was the day when I got really sick.
Mm-hmm.
I was feeling that week. It was my first dose of the stronger meds. I felt horrible, horrible. And they actually called me in to come in for my follow-up that same week. I didn't want to go because I was like, I feel absolutely horrible. The last thing I want to do is come try to get up and get dressed to come in here, to go to the doctor. I felt horrible. And that particular day when I got there, it was they always treated me very well. Like I said, they have been amazing, but that day it's like they just kind of knew I needed more that day. So they were doing extra pouring, they were hugging me, threatening to come to the house and give me the chemo if they needed to. They were like, because we're going to get you through this thing. You're not giving up. We're going to keep going. You don't have time to start, whatever. Feel how you feel, cry, be in your feelings. But you're going to get through this. We're going to get you through this. They've said from day one, like, let us know every single thing that's going on because we're not trying to torture you. We're trying to heal you. They said anything that you're going through or you're feeling, we can help. So let us know. And I just feel like it was always, they just always knew what I needed.
Mm-hmm. They were heaven
Anytime
sent.
when heaven sent.
Yeah.
Anytime I was like a little unsure in my mind, something may happen, and I'd be like, okay. It's like I'll go and they'll just be speaking around that, and I'd be like, okay, I feel so much better. They just always made me feel like I could not fail. There was no way we could fail
Mm-hmm.
on this journey, and that's how I felt from the beginning up until now and ongoing. Like everybody that I've met
Yeah.
has been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you touched on this a little bit. What is your regimen now after having your diagnosis? As far as
So,
eating, your schedule.
mhm. So I'm still not currently working right now. It will be till after because I have surgery coming up in like 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Like 2 weeks, I have surgery coming up. So now, and now I'm not having to go get chemo, thank God. So I'm not going to the doctor. So now it's just me kind of having those slow mornings to myself, watching what I'm eating. Again, I have an indoor garden. So today I had my first salad, courtesy
From
of
our
my
garden.
garden.
Yeah.
Oh.
For my lunch, I had my first salad, which was like kale, lettuce, and arugula from my garden. And yeah, just kind of continuing how I did before, but just being more intentional about my time, even my alone time, and getting back to my meditating with my prayer time, just meditating and affirming myself. And again, I'm still going through the journey, so a lot of it now is more so health wise, speaking on those things and speaking over myself, and what I want my body to do, and how this is going to be, and what's working out for me, and how God is seeing me through. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much how it is now, just more intentional about what we're eating and what we're drinking. As before, like I said, we weren't horrible, but we weren't like worried about anything. It was just kind of like no big deal. But now it's more so like, okay, I need to make sure that, or we need to pay more attention about what we're doing and what we're eating and what we're drinking and how we're going about kind of doing things on the daily. But
Mm-hmm.
so far, that has been the biggest change, I think, is the eating, which is why I wanted to do the indoor garden. I started that a while back. I wanted to start one like years ago. And it was just one of those things where it was like, man, because I'm a plant mom, I love plants. So I was like, well, that would be the next thing. I would just grow our own food. And I tried one time before, didn't really get serious with it. Thought about it again a couple years ago, but it was one of those things I was just kind of like, it's no big deal. But now we're really like, okay, we need to really clean this up. So that's kind of my regimen now, just kind of being more intentional about things, making sure I'm doing a lot more internal self-care as opposed to external.
How did it feel to ring the bell?
Ah,
Whew, amazing.
yeah.
Amazing.
She watches that video. She has watched that video since it happened, probably about 100 times.
Yes. And I get emotional every time
Yeah.
because at one moment it felt like it was so far out of reach. In the beginning, it's kind of like when you're looking at it like, oh, I can't wait till I get there. And it seemed like it's so far because you
Mhm.
hear they're counting down and it's telling you when your treatment will be. And you got to think, I started this in September with my treatments. I started my first one on September 3rd, and they're counting all the way down. And they're like, so you'll be finished in January. And I'm like, oh my God. It's like that's so far away. It seemed like, oh my God, I got to keep doing all of this until then. I got like 5 months of going through all of this. So to finally get to that point, it was amazing. I couldn't believe it was kind of like I was in shock for one, couldn't believe it was here.
Yeah, yeah.
But to ring it and know that that hardest part of my journey is over felt amazing.
Mhm.
It was amazing.
Ditto. Yeah.
It was
What is,
amazing.
yeah. So how did it feel to see her ring the bell?
It was surreal, really,
Hmm.
because it was like, wow, she really went through this. Like this is like crazy. It's kind of surreal, that, she's actually been through it. And I honestly, like, even earlier on, we were there at the cancer center a couple times when we've watched other people ring the bell.
Hmm.
And I said to myself, like, I wonder how it's going to be for her. So when that day finally came, it just felt a little surreal. And when she actually did it, I was just so proud of her, and the support and love in the cancer center when she did it,
Oh.
it was just overwhelming. It was
Hmm.
just overwhelming. Just so overwhelming how they just embraced her, loved on her, all the people in the cancer center, the family that was there. It was just, man, it was so dope. It was so
Hmm.
dope. So dope.
That bell ringing for us, it symbolized not only like the end of that, but just the going over there all the like the not feeling bad anymore, and
Mhm.
how our household like the sleeping up and down, like the different just everything that I experienced during that time. It was like the end of all. It was kind of like saying, okay, the end of all of that. We're bringing all of that out of here. The end of
Yeah.
all this not feeling well every week after week. The end of me not being able to taste my food. The end of the insomnia. We still working on the hot flashes, but I can deal with the hot flashes if I have to. But it was just the going over there, going to the doctor every week, sometimes on the weekends. It's just like just all that was now saying we don't have to do any of that anymore. That part of this journey is
It's over.
over, at least for that piece of it. I still have, like I said, I have an upcoming surgery, and then I still have 21 sessions of radiation.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, we got to do a second part when
Yes.
Yes.
everything is done and we have fully got the You have no more cancer.
Right.
Yes.
Which the 23rd, when I have my surgery, is what my PA said. No matter what, you will be cancer free that day.
Hmm.
So they couldn't find my lump in November.
Okay.
Yeah, the tumor had shrunk. Yeah.
In November, they couldn't find the lump. So we had been saying I was cancer free then.
Mhm.
That diagnosis was like, no, that's we're done now, but we have to finish because I even asked my doctor, I'm like, well, since we can't find it, do I have to finish chemo? Like, can we just, but of course with triple negative, they're like, no, we can't take any shortcuts. We have to do everything, full out process,
Mhm.
everything. Which I knew, but I was just more so being funny because I was tired of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, um, yeah, that ringing symbolized the end of a lot of discomfort. And like I said, the going over there, being at the doctor every week, some weekends, and and also the biggest thing I would say for me too is kind of gaining back some control over my life. That was the biggest thing.
Hmm.
I felt like even early on, like I had lost control. Because when you're kind of told you're diagnosed with cancer, for one, you don't again, you can't you just kind of say, okay, then we gotta do whatever we have to do to get through this, and not knowing what they look like. But I kind of felt like I had lost a little bit of control because I couldn't work. It was like, okay, to be able to be fully present in this and take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to work. And then now when the chemo starts, it's like, well, you can't be around a lot of people. You can't do this. You can't do that. You're not feeling well. So it's like you really don't have control over anything that's happening. You're going to lose your hair. Your body's going to do all these different things and no control over anything. You have to go into the doctor to do this. And They literally are just putting all these appointments on my calendar and I just have to go. There is no, well, no, I don't want to, I don't, no, we're not going to worry about that one. Let's just do this. It's like every week they're just putting stuff on there and I just have to show up. And so even as little as, so I met my consultant, my radiation oncologist, my doctor, I met her the other day. And this is so small, but just the fact that I was able to sit down and say when I wanted to show up and when she was like, it's up to you. It's your choice. Cause I haven't had that choice. It's been like, you got to come in for this. You got to come in for that. They tell you when to show up for chemo. They tell you when to come in for your fluids. They tell you when to come in for injections. And it's like, they just put it on your thing. You have to just show up. Wasn't no sit down and let's see what day works best for you and this and that. You were on a tight schedule because certain things have to be done a certain way and on a certain time. So just the fact that she was like, whatever time works best for you, you got this, you got that, whatever you want to do. Even that, because it felt normal again. That's how normal doctor's appointments are set up. So just feeling like I'm gaining some sense of control back over my life. I'm not completely there yet, but it's coming. But just to have a little bit back, it was like, goodness, I kind of feel normal again.
What are words of encouragement do you have for someone currently going through breast cancer, or someone struggling with a difficult situation or ailment?
Number one, to breathe, breathe, take it a day at a time, and be okay with not being okay. Is what I would say. Take it a day at a time, breathe, and just be okay with not being okay. Live in your emotions, because whatever you're going through, it's not easy. So don't try to go through it and be too strong to the fact where when you're like, I'm not going to cry, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to whatever, because you're human, so you're going to have those emotions to come up. And when they do, live in it because you feel better when you let it out instead of trying to hold everything in and be too strong. And I didn't try to hide how I was feeling from anybody. If I was on the phone with my daughter or with my son, whoever, and I wanted to cry, I cried. I didn't be like, oh my God, I can't cry. Okay, I'm not going to cry. No, if I needed to cry, I'm going to cry because what I was going through, it was hard. It was a lot on me. And I felt like the only way I could have other people help me or meet me where they could is if I was honest about it. So I feel like when you're going through it, yeah, just breathe again. Be honest with your feelings. Take it a day at a time is really all you can do. Take each day, day by day. Don't try to do too much ahead. Because you're going to have those moments where you're down. And so I never tried to overdo or try to plan too much ahead. I lived in the moment. So if I was not feeling good today, if tomorrow I felt good, then I took advantage of that day and did what I could and just go from there. And just kind of, yeah, go through and then just try to keep a positive mindset
Hmm.
because that plays a big deal into it. Again, I'm one of those people that feel like what you put out there, where your energy goes, is what you're going to bring back to you. That if it's woe is me, why this happened to me? What am I going to do? Why me? Why now? Those are the kind of those are the results we want to go for. So I affirm myself. Speak over yourself, even if you don't have anybody else to do it. If you don't have a big support system, speak over yourself. Speak life into yourself. Get up and affirm that your health and claim your healing. That's what I would encourage someone to do.
And Donnie, as a person that is the spouse, what advice do you have?
Oh man. I would say the biggest thing, which I've been stressing all day today, is just, be as strong as you can be of a support system for your spouse, because, it's not easy. It's definitely not easy, but you have to make sure that, you're getting, the proper rest and you're getting, you're eating, well, you're eating good, adequately, so that you can then be, the spouse, the help that your spouse needs, overall. Because, being in tune with your spouse and just knowing what what they like, what they don't like at this moment, what works, what doesn't work. um you have to really pay attention, really pay attention to, their needs. And you have to, you cannot be selfish. You have to be the most selfish, selfless person going through this, because it's not about you, it's about your spouse, so you gotta, if they're feeling whatever, you have to be in tune to know, okay, what it is that they're looking for, what it is that they're asking for, what it is that they really need. It might just be just you sitting there and they cry on your shoulder, or it might be a moment that, at 11:30 at night or midnight, they want some Swedish meatballs and you got to go downstairs and cook some, you just got it. You got it. You can't be selfish. It's got to be about them, so many and many a nights of those things, those moments where, babe, I'm feeling, her appetite going through the steroids and stuff that she was taking. She was, I joked
Eating.
about it, but she was eating us out of a house of home, and I was just like, yo, what's this all about?
It was like she
But
was pregnant again.
yeah, it was just like,
Oh my
what? No,
goodness. It's like I could not, it's like if I wasn't eating, I didn't feel great.
yeah, it was
It was the
crazy.
steroids. It was only that would only last like the day,
A day or two.
yeah, a day or so after chemo, because they give you steroids in the pre-meds. They give you pre-meds first
Yeah.
to prevent like infection, nausea, things. And those steroids had me eating.
Yeah, boy. I had to keep us snacked up in this piece. So, stuff like that. You just have to be mindful, and just pay attention to what they're asking for and what they need, and just be there. You have to be there no matter what. You got to be there. You got to be there. So, that's
What
what I would.
did you learn about him in this journey that you didn't know before?
Um, I don't want to cry.
That I could burn. I could burn in the kitchen.
Cry, cry, cry. You said you're not gonna hold nothing back. Cry.
I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Um, I can't really say I already knew these things about him because we've been together so long and we were friends first.
hmm
So I won't necessarily say it was anything that I learned about him that I didn't know, because I knew in this going into this that he would be strong. I knew he would be there. I guess I would just say just how appreciative though I became of him as my husband going through something like this because again this it was the fear of the unknown. We didn't know what was going to happen, what was going to take place, and I didn't know how it was going to affect him because again, he had to do. I was going through a lot, and I'm not taking anything from that because obviously we know with being diagnosed with cancer, or whatnot, it's a lot. But now him being on the other end of like, okay, now I can't do anything, so everything is going to fall on him, and just how he was going to be able to navigate that. Like, will this either you're gonna sink or swim is how I would say it, and just kind of like how he would come through that. And I knew he would swim, but I didn't know like
I didn't know I was
would it
swimming.
be a little I didn't know if it would be a little shaky, if it would cause us to be like bumping heads or something, because he's like, oh my God, I got so much and do this and do that. And what made me emotional is because and I know people like, well, that's what he's supposed to do because he's your husband. And right, he is. Everything that he did, he was supposed to because he is my husband. But he never complained. He just kind of went about everything gracefully. Like I said, nothing ever stopped. He just kept going. He just kept moving along with making sure I was okay. Um, he always assured me, like, I'm here. We're doing this together. I'm here. So just being the husband that he was supposed to be. So I wasn't really shocked about what he did. I didn't really have to learn anything, I guess, as far as that, because I knew he would step up and do what he was supposed to do. That's why I married him. I know who I'm married to. Um, but it was just seeing him in that light because I was, like I said, I didn't know what this was going to do to our marriage. I've never been sick. It's never been me that he's had to take care of in this way. And so with everything now, not with me just being diagnosed with something small, it's not like a little cold or the flu or something like that. This is a life-altering disease. And so it was like, okay, how is he gonna show up with this? Like how strong is he with this piece of it? Like I knew he would stand up for it. I wasn't thinking like, oh, he wasn't gonna be supportive or anything along that line. It was just kind of like is this going to be a whole lot though? You know, like how much of this is he going to be able to take? Is this going to really have him like, oh my God, like he overwhelmed and, you know, stressed or whatever. And then I'm kind of like stressed now because, you know, the household is stressed or whatever, but it wasn't like that at all.
What did you learn about her, Donovan?
Uh, that she is stronger than she thinks. Um, I call her Superwoman.
Mhm.
And it was always that way from the time that we first met and everything, and over a decade ago, and it was just like, okay, yeah, she's got superwoman tendencies, but this journey really brought that to the forefront, of her just being a superwoman and getting through this tough time, where you know some of the weak would just fold, but she never folded, she never folded. Emotional, yes, but she never folded. And I look at her, I have a even stronger love for her because of that, and just, superwoman on display. And just, she's an amazing woman anyways, but on top of that, it's just, man, it is. I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have her by my side. I am so blessed, and not one time did I ever think that through her having cancer that God was going to take her from me. I never thought that, and I felt like, yeah, she's my rock. She's my rock for sure. Absolutely.
So I'm going to start with him, then I'm going to go to you. What do you admire about her through this journey?
Her strength. I admire her strength. D- She, you know, she shows her emotions, but to me, I don't see that as a weakness. I see that as a strength, and that's I think through this journey, that's one of the biggest things that I admire, is just her strength in being able to get through, the toughest thing in her life. When we first met, and we were just friends at that time. She went through a lot during that time, and it was one of the things that really I gravitated to in terms of like friendship and being a best friend to her, and to see how strong of a woman she was. She just carried it on, ever since we've been together. She's continued that, a great mother, great mom, and now a grandma, and we used to have this little joke, way back, that she had grandma knees, and it's a joke, and I say to her now, I'll be like, yeah, look at your knees now. I'm like, you really got grandma knees now. So, just her being a grandma and how she responds to her grandkids, and she's just an absolute amazing woman, and I just admire everything about her, but definitely her strength.
And what do you admire about him?
Um, Overall, his this same thing I would say his strength. Throughout the journey, I would say his strength
Mhm.
and the support, and his love. The way he loves on me, is what I admire most about him. Is I never have. I always feel so loved. I never have to question, like, huh, I wonder if he loves me. Even throughout this journey, it was I kind of was telling myself, I was like, I wonder how it would be for him. And because he always is like, it's fine. Even throughout the journey, when I lost my hair, everything, he was always, or when I cut my hair off, he was always like, you're so beautiful and this and this and that. And you still, and, and I was sometimes like, now I've had hair ever since he's known me, except for when I cut it short myself, but it wasn't this short. And just wondering, like, would that be so weird? But he always like still just so reassuring. And but yeah, I just admire his love and his support. The way he loves me, the way he loved me through this situation, the way he's still loving me through it. Um, again, he's shown up the way I will say the way he's shown up with my diagnosis is the husband he's always been in a positive way. He's always so, which I say is, which is why I didn't really have to wonder if it would be anything too bad. Like, like I said, I wonder where, how his strength that he has, how it would be in this diagnosis. Um, because I knew he was strong, but I was like, even the strong sometimes have a moment. So I was just like, oh, my poor, more so me thinking like, oh, my poor husband, because now everything is on him. I can't really help him out a whole lot. On top of that, he's working. He has to primarily kind of take over the household now, and he's taking me to all my appointments. He wouldn't let me drive when this first started out. Well, I can say you were too, because you were handling me with kid gloves a little bit too. So yeah, now that we go back and think about it, he was too. Now I think about it, because early on, he wouldn't let me cook. He wouldn't let me clean. He wouldn't let me drive. I couldn't do anything. He wouldn't allow me to do anything. Um, and I'm blessed for that, because that he could have just been like, well, you can still walk a little bit so she can still do whatever, but he wouldn't allow it. He wouldn't let me cook. He wouldn't let me clean, and he wouldn't let me drive. So he was taking me everywhere, and I wasn't going too many places, but he was always the one. So yeah, just the way he loved me and his strength and support is what I admire.
What's your definition of love?
Oh, you want? Mm-mm. Oh, I thought you were saying.
Ladies first.
I thought you made a noise. I thought you was about to say something. My definition of love is action. I would say it's action for me. It's showing, because you can tell me you love me all the time. I would say my definition of love, just to keep it simple, is what he did during my treatment and in our marriage, the way he loves me, the way he showed up for me. So showing up for me, being there for me, being a voice for me when I couldn't speak for myself. Um, just all the different things that he did for me during that process, and showing me that I'm not alone, let me know that I have someone else there to do everything, and being my rock, like he said. That's love for me. My definition of love is just being as good to me as I could be to myself. Love me as much as possible. Because, I feel like nobody can love you like you love yourself. But yeah, loving me just as much as I love myself. Being just as good as person to me, or being as good as to me as you would to yourself. I feel like he loved me through all of this, he always told me he loved me. He always tells me that he loves me, but that doesn't equal anything as much as how he showed up and shows up in our marriage. That's so for me, I feel like love is for me is to be seen. I mean, so it's showing. I have to see it, not necessarily like just a word that can kind of, it's the things that he does that shows me like he loves me. I know he loves me because of all these different things that he does and how he shows up in our marriage. Not anything that he's buying me, or spoiling me with gifts. It's the other things, the support, the when I'm upstairs when I was sometimes just not feeling well and he's rubbing my leg or just rubbing my feet, or when I had the neuropathy and he didn't just sit there and look and just say, oh, babe, he got my hand and he's trying to rub one hand. I'm trying to scratch the other. He's in there trying to help me feel better. So all those things for me is a symbol of love.
Donovan?
Man, I'll keep it short. So, love, when I think of love, one particular thing comes up to me is sacrifice.
Oh, that's a
Love
good one.
is like the utmost sacrifice. You talk about, we've been talking back and forth about it, all afternoon, and I just think that one way that, especially as a man, loving on your wife, you have to sacrifice. You have to sacrifice sometimes, when you don't want to, you have to sacrifice, and I think that when I see love, when I look at the word love, it just automatically sacrifice comes to mind. More than anything else, it's just sacrificing for that person, no matter what, we don't always see eye to eye. We don't always, you know, we don't fight, like that. But we don't always see eye to eye. And there's times, that we go through life and it's kind of like, I really don't want to do that, but the sacrifice, you have to get to that point where you love this person so much that you are willing to sacrifice whatever it is, that you're dealing with at that particular time. So for me, love equals sacrifice, a great deal of sacrifice. And if you don't sacrifice for somebody, I'm not gonna say it's the be all of all ends of you don't love that person, but if you go up above and beyond with sacrificing for somebody, you're acting in love. You're really truly acting in love. So that's my take on love.
Is there anything else you want to say or add that my questions did not prompt you to say?
Um, I believe I said everything. I guess the only other thing that I would say is for women, because I know it's always put out to make sure that you're getting, there's so much light shedded on getting your mammograms every year, and you should. But we also should normalize doing those self checks every month as well, because what my doctor also mentioned was that most times in situations where someone is diagnosed with breast cancer, the woman found the lump on her own. It wasn't necessarily through a mammogram. And I had to get better about it myself. I'm definitely going to be checking every month now, because my doctor assumed when I went in, like I said, I was getting my mammograms, but that day when I went in and told her I found a lump, her first thing was, "Oh, well, kudos to you for even doing the monthly check." And I'm like, "Girl, I wasn't doing a monthly check. My hand just so happens to rub across my chest." And I was like, it was just that it wasn't like a not like protruding or anything, but it was hard enough and like right there and firm that I could just feel it just from that. And so, yeah, I would just say for women to not only get those mammograms and think, okay, I had my mammogram, I'm okay. Make sure that you're still checking monthly as well, because it could be, you press down, you could feel something that came, months after the mammogram, like mine did.
Thank you guys for doing that. You give a single woman hope.
Yes, yes,
You guys are
Good.
beautiful, and I
absolutely.
really appreciate you doing this.
Oh, thank you for
And
reaching out
trusting
and
me to
wanting to
do
hear our
this and
story.
Yeah,
helping me share your story, because I am a big advocate in showing your story, having shared my own, and I know the power
right.
and the freeness and the freedom that it is in sharing
Yep.
your story, and how it
Yeah.
blesses not just you, but those, and that's the most important, that you are blessing others and you're being a vessel for the glory of God. So
Right.
Yeah.
I really
Yep.
Thank you.
appreciate you guys doing this.
Yes. Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. And Godspeed, God's blessing, healing, everything to you for your
Yes.
surgery.
Thank
Mhm.
you so much.